Hey, what's going on, guys? Just Jack on Sports here. Today we're going to be talking about fantasy football and if you should start or sit these players I'm about to talk to you guys about. So first, let's start off with the quarterbacks. Let's start off with Patrick Mahomes. The start he has had for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's been amazing. So you should definitely start him because the Chiefs so far are 5-0 and they aren't showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. I would not start Matt Ryan because after that performance yesterday against the Steelers, it shows that the Falcons aren't going to get much better and that they'll have a rough season this year. So I would definitely sit Matt Ryan, and if you could, I would trade him for maybe a Ben Roethlisberger, a Phillip Rivers, someone like that. I would start Drew Brees. The Saints are still really good. They're continuing on from last year. And with Mark Ingram coming back, I'm sure Drew Brees will have another option to either throw to or run the ball with. So I definitely think you should start him. I would not start Marcus Mariota if I were you guys. I mean, the bigger the league that you have, the limited options you have. So if you have to start Mariota, it's not that big of a deal because he can be on and off at times. But I would refrain from starting him if you can. Just because the Titans, even though they're 3-2, they've found crazy ways to win these games, and Mariota really hasn't done much to really help them. So if you can, I would not start him. And finally, for the quarterbacks, I would start Jared Goff. So the Chiefs and the Rams are the only undefeated teams left, and Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes have done pretty good this year, along with Todd Gurley for the Rams. But Jared Goff has done a good amount of work for his team too, so I would definitely start him. And for not starting for the last of the quarterbacks, I wouldn't start Kirk Cousins. Even though the Vikings signed him to a really big contract this offseason, he has not done good, so I wouldn't start him. But if you have to, he's not a bad option to start. Now, moving on to the running backs, first of all, you should definitely start Alvin Kamara. Even though with Mark Ingram coming back this week, he is most likely going to be the one getting the majority of the touches, and he has done phenomenal in the first 4 weeks of the season, so definitely start Kamara. If you can, don't start Dalvin Cook. I drafted him in my fantasy league, and he hasn't gotten 100 rushing yards yet, throughout the whole season, so definitely don't start him if you can. And one more, I have some advice for you guys. If you're struggling in fantasy and you have Le'Veon Bell, I would trade him just because when he gets back, he probably won't do that good just because he's been sitting out for he's going to be sitting out for 7 weeks, and he probably won't do that good on purpose, knowing him. So I mean, I would try and trade him if you can, but if you want to keep him, you're very welcome to. But you should start James Conner, the backup. He's done very good so far for the Steelers, and he's done a lot of good things, so I would definitely start him. And I would sit Jordan Howard of the Bears, just because, just like Cook, he was expected a lot more of, but he hasn't really done a lot, so I wouldn't start him. And then also Todd Gurley, he had 3 touchdowns yesterday, so I would definitely start him. He's gotten me a lot of 20, 30 point games this season, so definitely start him if you can, if you have him. And another player to look to trade is David Johnson. He hasn't done that good this year, so definitely trade him if you can. And now moving on to the wide receivers, definitely start Adam Thielen of the Vikings. And also, if you can, start Stephon Diggs too, because both of them are doing really good. Even though Kirk Cousins has been struggling, he has been finding ways to get them the ball a good amount. So yeah, I would definitely start those two. And I would sit Corey Davis of the Titans just because, piggybacking on what I said earlier, Marcus Mariota isn't really doing that good this season, even though he was expected to do a lot better, but I wouldn't start Corey Davis. And then playing tonight, Michael Thomas, I would definitely start him. He's the #1 receiver in New Orleans, and with Mark Ingram coming back, I mean, he's still going to get a lot of touches, and I would still start him over like Corey Davis or Amari Cooper. And don't start Amari Cooper. Derek Carr hasn't, ever since that 1 year, he hasn't been doing really good, and the Raiders are just average up to this point. So I would sit Amari Cooper even if like that means putting in Corey Davis or like Doug Baldwin or whoever. I would rather put them in than Amari Cooper, just because even though he's the number one target in Oakland, he still hasn't been doing that good. And finally, to wrap up this video, I would start Antonio Brown, even though he's been having some issues off the field with Big Ben, and just, to be honest, guys, I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. We're just in such a disarray. It's not good. So even though we are in the disarray at the moment, I would still start Antonio Brown, just because even though Juju is getting a good amount of touches too, I would start Brown just because he demands the ball and Big Ben doesn't really want to disappoint him. So I would put in Brown. And then finally, I think you should sit Doug Baldwin, just because Russell Wilson has a lot of other targets to go to. Now with the half-decent running game he's got with Mike Davis and Chris Carson, I think Doug Baldwin's gonna, like, his points are gonna continue to drop, so I would sit him. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be on the lookout for a part 2 of this fantasy football, where I'll go over the tight ends, the defenses, and the kickers. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.